The following campaign is a Kickstarter special, and before we get started, we do want to mention that we support Kickstarter United's efforts to unionize. At this time, they're not calling for a boycott, and if you would like to find out ways to support Kickstarter United, be sure to follow them on Twitter. A link to their account is in our show notes. And today, on the Terrible Warriors, we round out our series of Kickstarter specials with a very special game indeed. Way back at Breakout Con, we interviewed Lucian Khan, and he mentioned he had a game that he was kickstarting, and that game actually has already gone to Kickstarter. It launched on October 1st. It will conclude on Halloween. It was funded in 24 hours. It's been featured on the Kickstarter front page, and now we get to play along with the campaign as we chase Lucian all the way to the finish line. Today, we're playing Visigoths versus Goths. It's one of those games with the easiest elevator pitch in the world. Goths versus Visigoths. 16-year-olds in a mall in LA in 1996 have teleported Visigoths from the 1st century to the present day. And as a romance game, well, we couldn't play a game like this without a very special table of players indeed. This is our character creation episode. The game is in Kickstarter. Visit the link in the show notes. Sit back, enjoy, because they may be Visigoths, they may be Goths, they may be against each other in this mall, but together at this table, they are terrible warriors. Welcome back, Terrible Warriors. We have another Kickstarter game we're going to be playing. You have heard us play through Root, and you have heard us play through Ross Rifles. Now, Root has concluded their Kickstarter. If you missed it, you missed it. But Ross Rifles continues on, as well as the game we are playing today, Lucian Khan's Visigoths versus Goths. You heard it first in March when I met Lucian at Breakout Con, and we talked about this game and got very excited about it. And I have been planning to play this ever since, and it has taken to get these people at this table to play this game at this time of year, localized entirely in this room. It has been. It's going to be worth it. It's going to be real worth it. Visigoths versus Goths is, of the other two we've done, maybe the most different of the others. It is. Well, why don't you just stick around and we'll teach you and we'll learn it all together. I am not alone at this table. I am joined by players both new and familiar, starting at my left, your right, new to our show. Welcome, Joan.
Thank you so much for having me, Justin.
Joan, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, let's see. I am an author. I'm a speaker. I'm a games mistress. I teach board games at Snakes and Lattes Board Game Cafe. I am one of the, alongside you and others, and another person at this table on the DM roster at DM and Dine at Stormcrow Manor here in beautiful scenic Toronto, Ontario. I recently had a piece appear in the Washington Post about how playing role-playing games helped me figure out my gender identity. And it was a very tough piece to write. That itself was a follow-up to a book that I co-authored and just recently came out called Your Move, What Board Games Teach Us About Life. My big thing is about playfulness and about how trying stuff, sincerely trying to succeed, and at the same time being comfortable with the fact that you might fail is crucial for so many things, and how games are an amazing way to explore that safely.
This might be the perfect game to try these out on.
I can't wait.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm so excited.
Returning back to the show now. Now I know we've recorded some games out of order, but the last time we heard you was still Star Trek.
Yes.
which in the other game recording we're also going to say the exact same thing because it's all non-linear. But welcome back, Velvet.
Thank you very much. Just like Star Trek, non-linear, and actually just like the way I think often. So this works for me. I really like what you said about playfulness. My background when I'm not here is improvising, and the main reason I love improvising is that same sense of playfulness and vulnerability, and exploring and going beyond who you are to discover who you might truly be.
And you just got off the road, Fringe,
Correct.
right? And you were like bouncing all around the country, being playful. How did that go? Tell me a little bit about how
I wrote and performed Personal Demon Hunter. It was a 50-minute exploration of myself and a sharing of myself using the talents that I enjoy, which is singing, storytelling, stand-up, and engaging the audience. I got to do that in 3 cities across Canada. I have never toured something across Canada. I've never done a solo production. So these were all personal challenges. So you just went
right off into the deep end off the cliff.
Not even deep, and I skydived.
He skydived into the ocean.
Yes. With my scuba tank on, ready to go go where no one has gone before.
Hey, and that brings it all back. New to the Terrible Warriors, also from our DM and Dine. That's how I've met you through Stormcrow Manor, and also we met at Breakout and we were talking then.
Yes.
Did I interview you at Breakout?
No, because unlike a lot of people at Breakout, there we go. I actually do live in Toronto, and so we figured we could do that another time. I am Nicole Winchester. I am as well, along with Joan and Justin, one of the DMs with the DM and Dine program, as Justin said as well.
I'm just going to eventually turn this podcast into the unofficial DM and Dine thing.
Yeah.
Because Adventure EXE out in Vancouver does Oops All DMs, which is the Vancouver Stormcrow DMs all getting together around the table and playing together. And so we're halfway there.
Yeah, totally. And I'm a freelance writer for a number of RPGs. I write for The Expanse. I'm writing something for Modern AG right now. I've written for 7C. And like Joan and Velvet, actually, I believe a lot in the power of play. Brene Brown talks a lot about how adults don't have a lot of excuses in their lives to play. A lot of my work is through live action role play. I have a collective that I do some work with that in. I ran a couple of live action games, Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition. I'm doing a few other ones, and we're just starting a festival in Toronto in March called the Embodied Festival, which is a festival of live action role play and immersive art. And so we're hoping to bring a few people in, including someone that Joan mentioned in her article, that's Jonea Kemper, who kind of has this theory about emancipatory bleed. So we really want to bring her in to work with a youth workshop that we're going to do in Regent Park, teaching some kids how to make LARPs.
This is wild. This is a whole nother podcast.
Oh, yeah.
You're coming back. We're breaking down. Yeah. I've never done a LARP. I've been playing tabletop role playing as part of improv groups, and I've done that. The closest I've ever considered LARPing is Night Forest, which I still have on my shelf, which is from the makers of Fall of Magic, where you go out into the woods with candles and create these memories based off of the cards that you're handed, and it just sounds more meditation than really anything else, which is wild. Really
I always thought I could never LARP because it seemed too scary, too many strangers, too big, too involved. And then I listened to Jonea Kemper on the Backstory podcast, and I realized this is something I need to have in my life.
Yeah. There are so many different kind of LARPs, and that's really what Jonea and a friend of mine, Moira Turkington, and a lot of us talk about, is that you can have a LARP with 4 people in your house. You can have a LARP with...
I've had friends gone to Watch the Skies, where they've done that, which is, it's not always classified as LARP. It's more like Model UN with aliens, but it can absolutely be LARPed and play.
Entirely.
And they all dressed up as their characters. The Secretary of Defense, who was all dressed up like Uncle Sam, and it was just, they really went in.
Yeah, and a lot of people see it as like something where you see YouTube videos where people go to big castles and they're all dressed up and they have a lot of makeup on, and that's definitely one form of LARP and one that I've done a ton of. But you don't necessarily need to do that.
The other one being in the woods with foam weapons and camping and
there are ones that are called freeform or black box LARPs that are basically like you don't need anything special to do that. You just need some of your friends and some imagination.
I'll tell you, Visigoths versus Small Goths is written to be a LARP as well.
Yeah, it is.
We're playing it as a tabletop game as Quick Start, but Lucian is... passionate about LARPing, and you can take this and you can go to a mall and you can LARP it in the food court and it will work.
That's amazing.
And you just go in and you just walk around like we could have been doing this live down in the Toronto Path when everything's closed and no one could stop us.
Lucian and I actually both really want to be vampires. We discussed this on Facebook the other day. So
Lucian shared his story on when we interviewed him about his first role-playing experience was at a theater camp where some kids came up, same age, and told him about vampire. But their rules were, you're going to be a vampire and no one's allowed to know you're playing. And it was just this terrible, like he should have died that summer, but he didn't. And he's been role playing ever since.
I always am clan Toreador, just FYI.
Thank you. That's important.
Yes, it is. I'm very much into that. So anyway.
So that's a whole thing, and this is I'm so excited to have both you and Joan here to play this game because it works together. Anyways, moving around the table because we still got two more people back again. Returning, the last one you played was Paranoia. Or Masks, or Forbidden Lands, of course. Yeah, our finale before I played 4 more games. I don't know how to run a show properly. And Joe, welcome back.
Thank you. It's great to be back.
Yeah, you're quickly becoming one of our mainstays, which is really wonderful. So I like what you bring to the table. And you've had a good fall.
Had a great fall. Yeah. I got a dog. I can't stop talking about her.
Yeah.
And if you let me, I will just talk about her for the next 3 hours. So
okay. I won't stop that.
Oh no!
Yeah, the next time we play Forbidden Lands, we'll make sure that becomes an insert character,
yes.
And you can be like a halfling or a goblin riding your dog around like a mount.
Oh my goodness! Yeah. I would love that. She would love that. It's gonna happen. All right.
What kind of dog is it?
She's a pointer mix, and she's about 2 years old. I got her from Redemption Paws, which is a local Toronto rescue.
Aww.
And she's just the cutest.
And new to the, we actually met already, and we have recorded a game that is unreleased. So to our dear listener, you are brand new to the show, but Sean, it's wonderful to meet you again. Welcome for the first question mark time to the Terrible Warriors.
Thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
Like with Joan, tell me a bit about yourself.
Oh yeah. So I am a part-time voice actor, part-time medieval reenactor, part-time DJ. I like to play as well.
Well, you're on the wrong side of the table.
I know, right? Part-time Molgoth as well. It's so yeah, I like to play in all different kinds of ways, whether it's historical or modern. I've been gaming since I was, I think, 12, 13 doing RPGs. So I absolutely love doing this kind of stuff. I'm very happy to be here. I'm very excited with the subject matter of this game. It spoke to me. It was hard to pick a team, not going to lie.
Yeah, I have to say everyone is very dressed and appropriately and in character for today.
I thought
we have a lot of black.
I've got really, really nice black leather pants, but this room can get a little swampy when there's 6 people in here. So we crack the window open every hour to vent it out. And I just didn't want to be sitting in that all day. So
thank you. We all thank you.
Visigoths. So Visigoths versus Molgoths. It started its Kickstarter at the beginning of October. It's running until Halloween. We are playing up until Halloween. This is, if it's on time, fingers crossed, the Tuesday in the second to last week. So our last episode will be on Halloween when we're counting down to the final minutes of the Kickstarter. So we're chasing Lucian to the finish line here. Now, good news with Visigoths, it got funded in 24 hours.
Yes, it did.
It then also got featured on the front page of Kickstarter for 21 hours. Amazing. And so it's been knocking it out of the park. So we are here to kind of help push it into the next few stretch goals, which are more artwork, bigger books, more there's actually a really nice tier lower down for low income supporters who want to support but don't have the money to do it. Higher up, you're not just buying the game, you're also buying new slots that will open up on the lower income tiers as well. So it all becomes very reciprocal. So those are some of the other goals they're going for.
That's great. The option to pay it forward. That is so clever.
That's really good.
There's a number of slots there. He's just giving people copies.
And you've heard the disclaimer at the beginning, and we have it mentioned in our show notes. Lucian's also been at the front of supporting Kickstarter United, the union. And a big reason why we're still going ahead with this is there was some concern of, are we still supporting Kickstarters while Kickstarter is being hostile towards forming a union? And the answer is yes, we are. Kickstarter United has not asked for a boycott. They're not calling for a boycott. They have asked to continue supporting creators, especially creators from marginalized communities, where this is the only way you're going to make your game. And so they have worked and have communicated with Lucian, and Lucian has worked really hard to communicate with everyone else.
Lucian has done so much, and he's organized a union himself. Mm-hmm. He's unionized his own workplace before, so he really knows the issues that they're facing behind this.
So as an aside, I also want to thank Lucian because we had a little private back and forth on like, how should I communicate this on the podcast? Is there something I should say, or should I just react if people call me out? And so I decided to do both. We put a little disclaimer at the beginning. We got the badge in our show notes, and I've responded on Twitter to it. And just also then the show goes on, and we keep making it because we're oldest support to Kickstarter United, and really I want to see these games being made. And I'm really excited that Root and Ross Rifles and Visigoths versus Malgoths all got funded within 24 hours. They're all run by people from different marginalized communities, and they're all independent creators, and they're all telling these wildly different stories. And it is when, the next 12 months now, as all of these, and this is not the only games that have been kickstarting during this period as well. There have been so many success stories. I'm really excited for gaming in 2020 and some of the new things that are rolling out. So.
Solidarity.
Yeah. And I have to say, like, all of those people behind those games are all really good people. 100%.
You want to have a good time? Follow O the Ogany on Twitter. You will not be disappointed.
You won't be bored. No.
I like Bree, my partner's making fun of me because I've got this crush now on Twitter, and I am just following everything Lucian is doing, and it's just it's great. It's good times. So here we are. Visigoths vs. Malgoths, finally. This is our last Kickstarter special, and then I'm going back to the interviews I recorded in the spring and at Gen Con and maybe some PAX Unplugged stuff while we get ready for our next season of Terrible Warriors. So if you want to support Visigoths vs. Malgoths, the link is in the show notes, and it will continue on until Halloween. And even after Halloween, there'll likely be a backer kit and ways that you can still support the game, even if the actual formal campaign has concluded. So,
and I'm sure if you're at Metatopia, you might be able to play it as well.
When is Metatopia?
Metatopia is in November, the beginning of November. I don't know the exact dates, but I believe that you may be able to at least see Lucian there.
Yeah,
so.
I'm a con baby, and I've only just started. Like, Breakout was the first tabletop focused con I'd ever gone to, and then went to Gen Con to help with Magpie Games, and I'm going back to PAX Unplugged, and I'm like slowly easing myself into these. I'm going wherever Kate Bullock goes.
Yeah,
so.
just to explain, Metatopia is more of a it's a playtesting design focused con.
It's much more of a workshop and insiders and for the industry.
What is great is it's very cheap for players. So because they need people to test their games, right? If there's no one there to play the game, they don't get feedback from it.
Ross Rifles, the last game we played, was Metatopia'd. And
yes.
They went to Metatopia. They brought the game there. They got to sit down with Mark Diaz Truman and play the game, and then walked away and went, shit, we got to write the whole thing.
Yes. And I mean, like, that's the community they have. It's not only really inclusive and welcoming, but it's also a great group of players who are really good play testers and will give you great feedback.
Yeah,
so it's a great con.
Mentioning Kate, I know the IGDN.
Yes.
They do the scholarship
yes.
that they put out, and some of the people we've mentioned or interviewed in the past, like Camden Wright, and that are all recipients of that scholarship, where they find different people that otherwise would not be in a position to make a game, to get a chance to go to Metatopia and meet with professionals and industry developers and show them their prototype and get this thing workshopped in a way that you would maybe never have that opportunity. And now games like Camden Wright's One Child's Heart, is that the name? And others that we have mentioned on the show and will play are out there. So it's really neat. It's not something I've gone to. I won't be able to make it this year, but who knows? 2020, right?
I keep meaning to too.
Yeah. Well, and as things go and continue, if I start going to more of these conventions, there's such a font of education and information and connections, and a lot of the people that didn't make it to this recording that we were originally going to have were people that I had met through Gen Con. But like Ross Rifles would not have happened if I hadn't gone to Gen Con. I wouldn't have been doing Root. And if I hadn't been doing Root, I wouldn't have been doing Ross Rifles. And if I hadn't done Ross Rifles, like, it's all, everything just starts to snowball like a good, like, Powered by Apocalypse move. It just kind of rolls into the next one.
Nice, yeah.
All right, so we've done a little breakdown. We're going to do some character creation in this first hour, and then when we're done and set up in the next maybe 2, this might only be a 3-parter. We're going to go through a day at the mall, and what's interesting is we have our 2 teams, the Visigoths versus the Malgoths. The year is 1996, and Goth culture has spun off to a Malgoth culture, and at some point, these Malgoths, using a Ouija board, have inadvertently transported from the 1st century a group of Visigoths to their suburban LA community. The Visigoths are known for interjecting themselves into the culture and assimilating and destroying it from within. And just after sacking Rome, now they're going to sack America, but they're going to start with LA and they're going to start with this mall. And so it's been about 6 months to a year since that fateful transportation. You're all 16 years old. So even if you're from the Visigoths, you're still a 16-year-old from the Visigoths, and have been living and coexisting in this mall. The game does not take place out of the mall. You may have families and school and other obligations that take you beyond the walls. That does not happen in this game. It's Pac-Man rules. If you go out the exit on one end of the mall, you will reappear on the other end of the mall, and you can use that to your advantage if you need to run away from the mall boss. We are here in this mall, and as we go through phases, the reason I needed to print out this clock in advance is each team will choose which store they will visit. We will then play out scenes in those stores. When you move to the next store, time passes to the next place in the clock. And there are early morning, early afternoon, early evening. We move our way. By 10 p.m., the mall closes and all the stores close, and you'll have to go home. In this adventure, they're actually going to close at 8 p.m. because something else is going on. And so you only have so many scenes and malls to play through before time comes to an end, which actually kind of makes it work really well for me. If I'm like, oh, we only have 2 hours, so you showed up late, you all slept in, we're starting at noon. And so you can start the clock wherever you need to fit your session. But each session is played entirely in one day in the mall. And then the next time we come, it's, I don't know, Saturday 3 weeks from now, and it's another time. And in terms of your lives outside the mall, that can be created in play as we find out ourselves. There's character creation. It reminds me quite a lot of Powered by Apocalypse with some questions that will be asked, but it's also satirizing to a degree a lot of traditional role-playing games as well, because the Visigoths especially are very much coded like you're right out of a D&D adventure, right? And you still have your javelin and your plate mail, and you're walking around like, what do you mean I need a license for this? So that said, before we started recording, we did split our table up. So we've got our to my left, my Visigoths, and to my right, my Malgoths. And at the head of the table, the undecided voter that will decide the outcome of this game. This is coming out on the 22nd of October, one day after. We do not know how this election turned out, so we can all live in our.
Can I decide who's prime minister too? Because I would really like to do that.
So here we are, kind of living in our own little, I want to say Schrodinger's world. So who are my Visigoths?
Let's see. We'll start with me.
We have Joan and Velvet.
So,
and which class did you choose, Joan?
I am going to be playing as the Runecaster.
And
which sounds D&D as all get out. Can I get experience points for killing people and stuff?
I don't. I think there is advancement, but what you get for killing people are hurt feelings.
Oh,
yeah. There is no. This is one of those games where death is not possible for your characters. It is when you get into combat with another player or another NPC, everyone walks away with hurt feelings. Even if you win, you still mark a hurt feeling. If you get 2 hurt feelings, you have to work out your feelings before you are allowed to enter combat again. And so even though you're actually throwing javelins and actually impaling people, they're not going to die. It's going to be a little more 1996 sitcom in that side. What did you choose? You chose the Runecaster?
Yes.
Mystic symbols transmute inert stones into instruments of your will. That's her Runecaster.
And I'm guessing the floor of this mall is mostly going to be granite.
So it's a little bit of like you're like a Visigoth tagger going around, and it's a bit like graffiti art, but with mystical. There is obviously magic in this world. Time travel has happened, but unless your character is specifically written like the witch on the Malgoth side with magic, it doesn't happen. You're like all those other characters in Charmed or whatever who don't have access to anything like that. And so it's one of those funny little rules where it's kind of accepted that it's there, but also it's not real to 95% of everyone in this mall.
So are we like Alf, where nobody actually knows that we're Visigoths? They're a little weird, the clothes they wear.
Well,
strange,
you're just immigrants, right? Like you're just newcomers to LA, and you've brought your strange Orthodox European background with you.
And because it's LA, because it's California, mostly people are just kind of like, oh yeah,
all right,
Checks out.
Eastern European, right? Yeah, exactly. And it's just. Yeah, exactly. It's just another person walking around in armor because it's their cultural identity. So, Velvet, who did you choose?
I chose the charlatan. So I was actually choosing the not to choose. I didn't want to be the conqueror, but Joan and I both we kind of looked at each other and went, oh yeah, this is kind of cool. So as it turns out, I have played this kind of character before, the talker, the speaker, the persuader. So it's very on brand for me.
No, really. You have a velvet tongue.
So the charlatan,
imagine that.
The charlatan is described. Why should there be any difference between a meaningful religion and a well-crafted lie?
Again, very on brand.
The conqueror that you didn't choose. Why you would ride into battle and seize this mall if only you had a horse. So we've got our charlatan and our runecaster, and on our Molgoth side, what did you choose, Sean?
I have chosen the witch.
The witch. Your friends value your uncanny emotional intuition, but you're not all lavender and crystals. And I actually like that. You've actually independently, each team has chosen a magical character from their side. So surprise, we're going to have some fireballs, I guess. What's interesting with, I believe the runecaster, you can leave runes on items that act like traps later into a scene. And the witch, you can haunt locations, and you can just like grab a toaster and haunt it and leave it if you just spend, and then that whole room will just
spooky,
because we don't know which malls we're going to go to. That's chosen. If you all show up into the same store together, then we play out the scene antagonistically, but most likely you each choose different stores as you move around the mall. So if the Visigoths arrive to a store after you've been there, you can leave a calling card, right, just to harass them. So I love this. It's and Joe, who did you choose?
I chose the theater tech.
Yeah. You've worked backstage at Rocky Horror Picture Show, and you know the ropes.
I do.
And
speaking of on brand,
I know, right?
The theater tech, that's me. That's who I was. Who I am. And then the one we haven't chosen from the Visigoths, from the Molgoths, I've got to really get my goth pronouns correct. Cyber pet. Why just carry around a digital pet on a keychain when you can be that pet? You're basically a furry with a Tamagotchi aesthetic. And and as Lucian explained in our interview, the furries in 1996 haven't really formed into what furries are today. It's still it's a culture kind of just testing things out. You maybe wear a tail, you maybe wear some ears on your head, you have a cyber pet, you wear like bangles and like claws, nails, and you're feeling it out, and will become in about a decade what furries are now. And so
Joan very graciously brought some cat ears that
you're actually wearing it.
Yes, yeah. Sean and I are now wearing them.
So we'll
and
amazing.
Rocking them, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Nicole, you arrived. You're at the head of the table. You haven't assigned to a team yourself, so you have those two characters to choose from: the Conqueror or the Cyber Pet, which will then also change the balance of power.
I know it was a difficult decision, and I looked at them both, and
they're both very good.
I know, and the only reason I chose mine was because of the power that this one had. So I chose the Conqueror only because the Conqueror can once per day without rolling convince someone that a modern item was invented by Visigoths.
So I will need you to scooch 5% to your left or to your right because you are now on this team.
I'm on the Visigoth side now.
Visa team.
Bye.
You were just visiting.
I was visiting the Goths.
Is there going to be a lot of this? I hope
You don't even know these. I have tried not. I know I've shared the documents with you, but I have tried not to spoil the names of these malls in advance because this is Lucian Khan going on like a midnight bender, just tearing up every pun they can come up with for these stores.
Oh my God, he's so.
It is a work of art, and I want this Kickstarter to hit older. I want each store to be illustrated because
that'd be beautiful.
They're
it's
phenomenal.
so good.
Yeah.
So because we're using the quick start guide, we do have a map on the back of your character sheets. There is a map of the mall. The final game will have like a beauty map that will be more illustrated, and then this is like more of a tactical game map that we can move. So that will show you all the different stores, and it does give you those names away. And we are going to be starting on the second floor at Floppy Joe's Cyber Chili dial-up internet cafe with chili.
Oh my goodness.
It's an important element.
So that's where we will begin our adventure. The quick start came with 3 adventures. We're playing the one that Lucian wrote. It's called Adventure 1, The Raven. So before we get ahead of ourselves,
The Raven.
you have on your character sheet a list of names. You can choose from that list. You can come up with your own, but it does give you an idea of kind of the aesthetic that Lucian is going for with these names. Now, obviously, the Mall Goths, they might not even be your name, but your assumed name as a Mall Goth, right? Your parents are going to call you Jill, but I'm not Jill. I'm Tabitha now, or I'm Lynx. I'm Hex, right? So you can absolutely write your own name or circle your own. And
one of the suggested names for the theater tech is Velvet.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Just so you know, my name is actually on all of the sheets. I'm just always a default answer.
That's a cool superpower.
I know, right?
I'm not going to tell you if that's the charlatan power or just real.
I believe you.
Thank you.
Oh, I found the.
I just feel that you really have to meet Lucian. You two just would really.
Everything I've heard so
you
far,
guys
I
would get
definitely-
along very well.
It will happen. Like,
Yes.
hopefully, fingers crossed, Lucian will be back to Breakout in March.
I think
and
so,
we will
yes.
just Velvet. I always bring someone from Terrible Warriors. Joe came with me to interview. I've had
was a
Bree.
lot
I've
of
had
fun.
Nicole. You should come along and we'll do that.
100%. Breakout
I end
is
up never
fabulous.
actually playing any games at Breakout because I just park myself in the hallway with my microphone, going, "Come sit, chat, meet, visit." So step 2, choose your pronouns. You can come up with your own. You can choose from the list. I found here one of the characters, Volfi, is a 16-year-old bisexual cis girl who's a Visigoth living in the mall, or living a clerk in the mall. They don't live in the mall. Important distinction. They work in the mall. They work at Lemon Theodosius, and unfortunately, Visigoth smoothies aren't as popular as the Roman competition. Is the caption there? I was about to say they, but Isos goes by feminine pronouns in the Gothic language, which are in italics here. It's spelled S-I, so it sounds like it's pronounced C, or Ija, I-J-A, would be the equivalent to, so C is she, Ija is her, and Isos is they. And so those are the three pronouns, C, Ija, Isos, which is in there. And Volfi also only speaks Gothic, which is a bummer for the Mall Goths, of course. C actually understands English and Spanish too, but C resents living in the 20th century, so C doesn't let anyone know about Ija. When a non-Visigoth, so it goes on, and so it's nice is that it gives in the description like an example of of dropping them. So when a non-Visigoth attempts to order a smoothie by pointing out a piece of Isos fruit, Volfi just eats it. So it's a little bit of a spoiler there, but giving you an example of those pronouns in use. So especially for the Visigoths at our table, if you also want to be on Team Volfi, I will work my way through that. So then 3, you automatically start with a +2 bonus to your dice rolls for 3 skills. Your skills being what's written there on your character sheet. They're different for each of them. But you can change one of them to a +3. And they represent, bonuses to your dice rolls. Then you have a goth style. You can choose from that list or you can come up with your own. So you can also circle from that list.
So when I was a, quote, mall goth, unquote, in the early 2000s, I got almost all of my clothes from the local head shop. Mm-hmm. And so I was just like decked out in the most colorful things you could possibly imagine with like huge patterns and yeah.
I believe that.
That was my teenage
You're the Are you the only one at this table here with an American Molgoth upbringing?
I think maybe.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
We're all here with like our like knockoff Canadian counterpart, but you're actually where in the States?
So I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Okay, cool.
And I actually worked one summer after my first year in undergrad at the mall that Dawn of the Dead.
Okay, so this is gonna mess you up. This game's gonna
it's in Monroeville Mall. I don't know what you're talking about.
you're gonna be sent back in time.
I'm a Le Chateau vintage mall goth. I worked at the Le Chateau in Peterborough, so I was like the coolest person in my high school. So basically, I had a job at Le Chateau, so that was pretty cool.
I was able to dodge out of working at an EB Games to end up working at a go-kart track instead. And that's where I spent my summers, was counting cars going around a lap. I was literally with the clipboard just tallying laps. like before, like they couldn't afford the computer.
That's better than spending back all your money on goth clothes at the Chateau. It's like, just like back out.
I worked at the pretzel shop.
Step 5 is to choose a religion from the list or come up with your own. How seriously does your character even take religion? So that's written down there as well. Now, everyone at this point is going to introduce their characters again, so the other players can get a general idea. And this is going to help with the embarrassing traits that will be in our next step. So, we went around and we learned what classes, archetypes you chose. So we'll start with the Molgoths this time because I started with the Visigoths last time. So introduce me to your witch. Yeah, your witch.
So I will be playing Ember, going by they, them, with a bonus to haunting things. And my style is a mix of Victorian and fairy. I decided you can blend those two very easily.
Yeah, you put wings on anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Here you go. Lots of flurry,
lots of flowery, drapey
cuffs. Yeah, coming out.
Floofy things. They get stuck.
Do you have
on
a cravat?
Things. Occasionally, depends how they're feeling.
It's a cravat day. You know, it's a
serious day.
That's an emotional Labor Day.
Yes.
Don't mess around with them that day.
I'm just wearing fairy cravat.
But they only wear white cravats before emotional Labor Day.
Oh no!
Thank you.
All right, Joe, this one's on your team.
You're welcome.
You're our theater tech, right?
I am the theater tech, and my name's Onyx.
Onyx.
And my pronouns are she, her. And I've got a +3 to costuming, which is very convenient. Because
you make the cravats.
I make the cravats, and not only that, I also get most of my clothes from the hardware store. I'm a cyber goth.
Okay, yeah. So you're just wearing just like Ethernet cables and stuff wrapped around 100%. Your arms, and you've got like the duct tape wallet and because you actually have a skill down on allows you to make an item out of duct tape for anyone.
I can once per day. I can make a clothing item out of duct tape and give it to someone. This item gives the wearer a +1 or -1 to the skill of my choice.
Yeah. So it kind of plants like a hex bag almost. You play it. Now, Visigoth table. We had the charlatan and we have all three are in use. So let's start with our charlatan then.
Hello, everybody. I am the Chutivan. They, them. I walk around styling my.
Oh, is that the name? Sorry.
Chutivan. CHUTEHVUN.
Chatevan.
Chatevan. I am a Chutivan. Are you also Chate? Let's chat a little bit. My pronouns are they and them. As a charlatan, I have the ability to forge notes and have people believe that it's authentic. I style the gold jewelry and cape as people do in the 90s.
Gold jewelry and cape, yep.
And my religion is future humanism. We'll find out what that means.
Oh, I'm so
But I'll
excited.
give you the note for what that is. I've arrived with these humans who are from the future. So, of course, I believe in that.
Yeah, time travel is real. Yes. Yeah. I'm trying to memorize the character classes. Charlatan, Runecaster. So, Joan, introduce us to your Runecaster.
All right. My runecaster's name is Gelvira, or just Vera for short, if you prefer. She, her pronouns. she's not really all there. She's kind of got one foot in this world and one foot somewhere else. Neil Gaiman's The Sandman comics are absolutely a thing by this point. She looks a little bit like Delirium and behaves a little bit like Delirium and sees a lot of things that either aren't there or really, really are there.
Lots of colorful makeup all around the eyes and stuff too.
And bizarre sort of dyed hair off to one side of the head shaved. Will be wearing like sort of rags with a beautiful white blazer draped over all of that. Very strange sort of look. She's an animist. She believes that all things are alive and all things can talk to her, and sometimes they do, and sometimes that's a bit overwhelming. She also believes in the pantheon of the Norse gods, and she occasionally will see them and they'll talk to her, and they're not always nice to her. Her big skill is she can do a few fun things with runes, but the main one is make invisible, which I've chosen to interpret as not actually making it disappear from view, but making it something that's sufficiently awkward and uncomfortable that nobody really wants to acknowledge that it's there.
It's the Hitchhiker's Guide.
There's somebody else's problem field.
Yeah. That's sort of just like you just always look away.
It's just
avert your gaze.
Okay, that's weird. I don't want to deal with that. So that's kind of how my make invisible thing works. At least that's how I envision it. Who knows? Maybe I actually can make people and things disappear.
Oh man,
we'll find out.
You do that to a person. Oh,
or myself.
There's actually a third member of this Molgoth team that.
That's Karen. We don't talk to Karen.
So, our third member of the Visigoths are Conqueror.
Yes, Ultragotha the Merciless.
Ultragotho?
Ultragotha.
Ultragotha.
The Merciless. And she, her. And she is rocking also the gold jewelry and cape.
Okay, so there's a trend.
It's a trend.
Yeah,
it's a trend. It's a thing. It's the hottest thing in teen Visigoths this century.
Just a bunch of gold cloaks.
Yeah, exactly. And
my pants are made out of gold cloak too.
Yeah, there you go. And so
you were like, those are just 1980 harem pants from Hammer that you're all just wearing around your neck.
Yeah. Yes.
They're fine.
It's just parachute pants around your neck. It's not a fashion statement.
Mom, don't tell me what to do.
And she is very large and aggressive, as a conqueror would be. And she's very good at controlling animals and spears, but mostly at stealing things. And she's a Germanic polytheist, as all good Visigoths are.
A Germanic polytheist?
Yes, she's not a heretical Christian. God.
Nice.
Come
We're
on.
going to get along very well.
Who worships Christ? Only barbarians.
All right. So,
and she has a spear and a saddle, apparently. But no horse.
No, that's no. Your kingdom for a horse.
Kingdom for my mall for a horse.
Your belt is just the saddle.
Yeah, exactly. Just why are you wearing the saddle? For when I get a horse. Shut up.
So Oh yes, good. They're on the back of the character creation handouts I gave you. I was thinking ahead. You can see the list of embarrassing traits. So, turning to the embarrassing traits list, a player on the opposite team will give you an embarrassing trait. You may keep that trait that they give you, or if you veto it, you will choose 2 traits from that list of your own. And then, so we started last time with the Molgoths. So, because you're outnumbered, we will begin with the Visigoths. Visigoths, choose a Molgoth to choose an embarrassing trait for you. And if you want it, you can accept it. And if you want to veto it, that's fine. But then you have to choose 2 from that list of your embarrassing traits. So for our listener, while they're all looking over, some of the things that the embarrassing traits that a Visigoth might suffer from is allergic to metal. They are a bad dancer. They are dumped by a famous lover. They have a fear of animals. That would be something for our conqueror with their saddle. They follow a modern religion. They have a secret sexual orientation, or they wish they were Roman. And so
It's very embarrassing.
and embarrassing traits can be used mechanically through the game. If you use your embarrassing traits, you will take on hurt feeling, but you will immediately resolve all opposition in that scene and win whatever's happening. Because let's say one member of your team is in a fight and you want it, so you can use your embarrassing trait to create a scene where you just immediately play out your fear of animals and just start screaming because there's a gerbil in the cage there and make a big scene. Now, all eyes are on you. You're going to get embarrassed. You're going to take a hurt feeling from that, and the hurt feeling will be you're embarrassed. And but you will also be able to immediately aid to succeed and essentially win that scene at your own expense because you're 16, and this is just what happens.
This is actually the worst.
Just spaz out, right? So, Nicole,
Okay.
Which Molgoth would you like? Between
Joe.
Onyx or Ember, which one to choose as your embarrassing trait?
Onyx, what would you like to choose for my embarrassing trait?
Oh gosh.
So you picked there for that embarrassing trait. Now, keep in mind,
Okay.
one of the Visigoths. So, Joe, after
Yes.
you pick this embarrassing trait, and after we're done with this, you will pick a Visigoth
Okay.
to choose an embarrassing trait from the Molgoth section. Right?
You get to say
I'm
yours
so
first.
excited.
so
All
so
right.
you get to choose. You get to choose
Ooh.
Ultra Gotha's embarrassing trait, or at least propose the first one.
So, oh gosh, there's so many good ones. So, one of the ones I'm leaning towards of fear of animals would be really funny. Following a modern religion after you pontificated about how
yes, I can understand that.
You're very outwardly, but then you
Yes.
actually go home and
And yes,
the Bible.
Read the Bible or something. Yes, I
like-
do.
follow Scientology or something.
and the new international version.
oh my.
Yes, in
Oh my.
fact, I
And so I think I'm gonna propose that one.
can follow a modern
Follow a
religion.
modern religion.
Sure.
Pray or make reference to modern gods or religious concepts. Now, modern gods and religious concepts to a Visigoth is anything after the year 900. So,
When was the Council of Nicaea again?
So Protestantism technically counts, right? What modern religion means to Ultragotha is up to Ultragotha.
I'm just saying we're in California.
Now, if Ultragotha
That's
would like,
true.
if
She could
Ultragotha
be
would,
a
yeah.
Scientologist.
You absolutely could be. Yeah, at this point, we're already into second, third generation Scientology.
New Age stuff is huge.
New
in
Age,
the
yeah.
90s in California,
Yeah,
too.
you listen to a lot of Yanni.
What was big? It was what was everyone going to? It was like Essen or Espen or something like that. I don't know. It was this weird
Now,
sort of
if you-
lifestyle thing.
Gardnerian neo-paganism is huge.
Yeah.
If you want that, you can take it. If you
Yes.
want to veto it, you can choose two from the list instead.
No, I will follow a modern religion.
Okay.
Perhaps Ultra Gotham met a Scientologist at the mall, and has been
With the
has
Dianetics booth.
has been brought in. Took the Dianetics quiz.
You did the
And-
stress
you got,
test.
You
Took
got,
the stress
you got,
test.
you got audited. You
I-
got you held the cans.
And I took the
I'm
stress
clear.
test, and though they were like, "You're very stressed," and she's like, "Yes, I am. I have a lot of stress."
Also,
I can't
I
find my
forgot to
horse.
ask Visigoths, each of you, are you still glowing from your time travel?
Yes.
I've got
And the answer is yes, no, maybe, or only a little bit.
I've got little trails of things following me around sometimes.
Because certainly the teleportation through time, when you sit down with an auditing session with the Scientology, probably blew out the needle.
Yeah, I'd say a little, only a little,
Ultra Gotha, are you still glowing from time travel?
only a little, enough to be interesting.
Where-
to,
where?
to
Is it just when you
Scientologists.
when you turn off lights in a room, you just look like a glow in the dark T-shirt?
maybe a little, yeah.
And how about you, Chate Van?
I
you-
am glowing my eyes and my nails.
Oh wow! So all of you look like you're out of some like cyberpunk dystopian where you each got like glowy bits. All right, interesting. So Onyx,
Yes.
which Visigoth will choose your embarrassing trait?
Oh, I don't know. I think I'd like Chatavan.
Okay, so the
To
Molgoth
choose
embarrassing
mine.
traits. I'm only going to go through these lists once, but the Molgoth embarrassing traits can include bad taste in music, a cracking voice, don't understand slang, overprotective parents, prep school student, a secret sexual orientation, or a terrible poet? You're like, I want that.
You have overprotective parents.
So that can take the form of
Yes, I
receiving
do.
a message on the loudspeaker, or you get pager beeps about curfews or homework. What kind of overprotective parents do you have here, Onyx?
Oh my.
And Onyx, what do your parents call you? What's your not Onyx name? Your mundane.
My mundane name? Can we come back to me in a second?
Mm-hmm.
I think I need a second for this.
Because I feel like overprotective parents like this would just be like, your name is Karen.
Tiffany Amber Thiessen, you get home right now.
All right, we'll come back to you then
thank
on,
you.
on
Yeah,
the,
I
on
need
the,
the
on the
second.
Need like a
overprotective
hippie
parents.
name.
So, Chadivan,
Yes.
which
Hi.
Malgoth will choose your embarrassing trait?
Ember.
Ember.
All right. I'm liking the wishing you were a Roman. I really enjoy that so much.
Can I just tell you that Romans are actually okay?
That can take the form of talking in Latin, making reference to the Roman Senate, emperors, the forum, however you want to manifest your secret, embarrassing admiration
I have
for.
a feeling that all of my my inspirational quotes will come from Seneca and Cicero and maybe even one of the Juliuses.
They're going to walk in on a toga party one day, and it is just going to be.
So
You're just, this isn't what it looks like. You say with the
Laurel leaves, right?
leaves in your hair.
Okay, so I think I've had some time.
Okay, so overprotective parents.
My parents call me Rachel.
Rachel.
yes.
Yep.
And they're like trying really hard to be the cool parents, but they just can't quite let go.
I kind of like the idea of Into the Spider-Verse with how embarrassing Miles' dad is with the loudspeaker. What if your overprotective parent is the security in the like the mall doesn't really have security? It's very specifically there's no security in the mall.
Right.
But what if there's like your one of your parents is one of the mall managers or is involved
I'm
and
so
just has
into
access
this.
to the loudspeaker as part of
Yes.
like even part of the housekeeping or something. Like they're involved in the operations, daily operations of the mall, so they can just be like,
Rachel, have you had your lunch yet? We're waiting for you down in the staff room to do your homework, dear.
Rachel, we got you some of those cables you like so much.
Your attention, please. I just want you all to know that today is Rachel's birthday. Happy birthday to
I'm in. I'm so in.
Yep. Beauty.
your overprotective parents now taking the form of friend computer in the mall. Ding ding dong.
Yeah.
Rachel. Rachel. Who gave her that? Why is she on the loudspeaker again? All right. So, Chadive, you wish you were a Roman. So then that comes to Ember, which Visigoth will choose. Given that actually, Govera, you haven't.
Gonna say,
Yeah, it's going to be you, and then you'll choose, and then we'll have everyone has an embarrassing trait. So, what embarrassing trait will you give to Ember?
Ember, you're a terrible poet.
Oh no.
Oh no!
No, it's exactly what you didn't want.
Good heavens.
Like an embarrassment-seeking missile.
Oh, that's a beautiful
So, if you want to use,
Are you okay with that?
Oh yeah. That's
if you're gonna use this embarrassing trait to clear a scene and get your,
There will be bad
I will
poetry.
expect a recitation of a bad poem.
that will happen.
Just the worst.
Thank you so much for choosing this.
So, to keep things reciprocal, I will let you. Then you got the last one. So, Golvera, what is Golvera's
Right.
embarrassing trait?
Okay. For
Our
a
runecaster.
runecaster. Yeah. I'm thinking
and one that hasn't been chosen.
yeah, one that hasn't to get, probably I'm gonna go with allergic to metal. That seems interesting.
I feel like that's actually not as debilitating as what I would like. So
because you're already.
If you don't
in
mind.
a lot of-
Yeah, no.
You can veto it, but then pick two.
Exactly.
Do
it.
So I'm going to go with bad dancer.
I'm so excited.
And
Works out very well for today.
And someone has to have a secret sexual orientation.
Fair.
That's, I mean, we're missing a trick if somebody doesn't wind up with that one.
Yeah, because that's on both lists.
Yeah. Well, it's because you're 16. You're only just like, what am I?
My sexual orientation is a secret to me.
And so
I think that
Nobody
maybe
else,
everybody-
Just you.
everyone else
that
knows.
was me.
That actually was
So
my high
most-
school experience.
Most of the clerks in this mall are 17 and are like the 1 year ahead of you. And they all have like messy interconnected relationships with each other. And you can absolutely, like it just says in parentheses, flirt with a player character or a clerk. And so it's just the runecaster or your graffiti. There are all those little secret notes that you're leaving, but no one can read it because it's in ancient Gothic. All right. So with those embarrassing traits, we're almost done, and then we're going to be wrapped up, and the game can begin. Choose 2 of the starting relationship sentences. For each sentence, fill in the first blank with the name of another player character, and the second blank with an idea from your imagination. When everyone is finished, you will read these out loud. So these are not going to be collaborative. You're just going to lay them on each other. Players may veto any starting relationship details they do not want, in which case whoever wrote it will just think of something else. So I've got the cyber pet here, which we're not using, but to give some examples while everyone else is writing down their ideas. I know it says choose 2. For the Mall Goths, you may, if you want, write 1 for each of the other Visigoths, but the actually no, because it doesn't even have to be for someone from the other team. It's just someone else at the table. So yeah, just write in 2 and fill them in. So the cyber pet has like my crush on blank weirds me out because this might be the same for every page. My parents told me to stay away from blank because blank. The Visigoth I most resent is blank because blank. So
I think we all have the member of other team I resent most is blank because blank.
Yeah.
So you can fill those in as you wish, and then we will present them to the table. And with that, character creation is done. And we did take a little bit more time with it because we're chewing things out and we're enjoying ourselves. But you can see, like, it's intentionally done to be like, grab a character, ... off
Nice.
you go, and you're running, right? Which works really well if we were actually playing in a mall and we were trying to get in before security kicked us out.
I'm also amused that Onyx's religion is too old to be considered one of the new religions. So she's Jewish.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's too old.
It's too old.
It actually predates Visigoth.
Do you figure she's observant or?
Kind of like High Holy Days, Pesach kind of deal, but
Which is nice because you bring that to the table, and that something I wouldn't be able to unless I had a cheat sheet in front of me. Follow through. So it was actually our last recording. You had to kind of I need to be out by sundown.
Yeah.
So.
It's Rosh Hashanah. But yeah, so like I would have really enjoyed playing a Unitarian character, but I feel like I don't know enough about the religion to do it justice. So
yeah,
pick something a little closer to my own experience.
Well, I like that. Like Lucian Khan is someone who is very open on Twitter about growing up as a Goth and in that scene, but also as a Jew and also as a trans man. And so bringing all of these disparate experiences together.
Fascinating
but
intersection.
Also as a trans man who sees his 90s life as a Goth girl as an identity that that is very important to him. And so it's one of those, everyone's journey is a little bit different. And that's Lucian. So he's got this Goth girl background, gay, Jewish, trans experience in LA, artist. Like this game is just Lucian Khan.
This guy.
I know,
This
right?
game is
Me
Lucian
too.
Khan just kind of splayed out on the table, and so that's one reason why religion is written in, because it's so much a part of. Joe, you must relate. It's so much a part of if it's important to your family, it becomes important, and to your community, it's just you're not. Even if it's not necessarily something that's entirely important to you, it's hard to separate without with all that. So it becomes part of your experience.
I feel like in some ways this particular Visigoth team is actually a lot more modern than the Molgoth team.
In a way, yeah. There's some
Are you
there's
getting
some
that?
there's some
Yeah, a little bit.
conservative traditional home values coming in over on this side. But and also I always see it on Facebook. Lucian's part of a Jewish Star Trek shitposting group, and I don't get any of the jokes. I don't get any of the jokes, but they're all like they're deep cuts on both deep cut Star Trek and deep cut Jewish theology. So
It's actually really funny because I think Lucian and I are about the same age, and we were Goths at almost exactly the same time, except I was in Peterborough and he was in LA. And so those are
the
just
small town
huge
goth versus the mega town goth.
And we were just talking about how much more trouble I would have gotten into in LA, because he was like, yeah, I got into a lot of trouble and just celebrities and stuff. And I'm like, wow, I would have done way worse things than I had in Peterborough otherwise. So,
you're more of a Letterkenny.
Yeah, it's like the Letterkenny Goths, except like less math. Yeah.
Yeah, I was a goth about 10 years later, high school goth 10 years later. So.
Yeah. It was like, there wasn't even like stores you could go to get goth things, except for like Le Chateau, basically.
Back when Le Chateau made good clothes. I remember that.
Yeah, exactly. Those days. Yeah.
So has everyone filled out a relationship?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm so excited.
So who hasn't gone first as we've been going around the table yet? Nicole?
I picked.
You picked the
yeah,
first
yeah,
embarrassing
yeah.
trait. So it's going to be Joe. It's just going to be
Okay,
Joe.
sure. Okay, so my crush on Vera weirds me out because I'm really intimidated by how cool her hair is.
Oh.
Also, if anyone found out you had a crush on a Visigoth, we are at
know,
war
right?
for
Yeah,
this
right?
mall.
And also, I don't know how I feel about this. Like,
It's Juliet and Juliet.
Well, if you feel confused, don't worry. So am I.
okay, great. We can be confused together.
And your second one?
My parents told me to stay away from Ember because they've heard the stories.
The parents.
Did you look at my sheet? Because both of
No.
ours tie together
Again?
Again?
Yeah.
Also,
Amazing.
spoilers for the next whenever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, oops.
Well, then let's just go around. Sean, Ember.
So my parents told me to stay away from Onyx because she's a bad influence. And the Visigoth I most
this is
resent.
what makes you such a
Right?
tight-knit team.
Yep.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
really
We're-
we hate our
oh.
parents.
Yeah.
And the Visigoth I most resent
Just
is
don't
Vera.
understand.
Poor Vera, because her hair is so much better than mine.
Wow.
So it's a respect,
just
right?
true.
Is that what it was?
This hair just became a character.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, your hair is literally 20 years before its time, right? The shaved side, the colors, everything going on. And it's sort of, like, man, in 2019, they're going to look back and they're going to see photos of this punk in a mall somewhere in LA going like, what is this time traveler? And they're not, they don't, little did they
Wrong
know.
direction.
Long way. That's right.
Wrong Direction is the name of your boy band cover band.
Yes. Wrong direction.
Yeah,
That's us.
I love it. I love it.
That's our gang name.
All right, so then Vera, you've got some.
All
You're,
right.
you're the most connected right now to the Malgoths.
I am jealous of Chitevan because sometimes they're Loki.
Thank you.
Sometimes. And that's upsetting. The Molgoth I most resent is Ember because sometimes they're Loki. And that's upsetting.
Like it's the same reason.
That's phenomenal.
Chade.
Yeah.
Chadevan.
So I'm jealous of Ember because of their poetry journal.
Oh, you found it. Oh, that's supposed to be a secret.
I thought I had impeccable handwriting, but
Their
whoa.
journal.
And the Molgoth I most resent.
I mean, you said it was supposed to be secret as you're posting everything onto an AOL group, and
This would have been live journal if it was
Yeah.
like
Yes.
when I was.
That's right.
yeah, like
But it's a secret.
how did you
lie?
lie? It was under a pseudonym, and it was like it was just a synonym for Ember. It was something else. It was just
Darkly burning coal. 2962.
The Molgoth I most resent is Onyx because they control the fashion curtain spotlight.
Why, thank you.
I like the spotlight.
Fashion.
I need it.
You've got this gold cloak trend, but meanwhile, Onyx is making like DIY, homemade. Like the Molgoths are walking around in custom Onyx originals,
Home hardware, homemade.
right? And like
Duct tape
if
cravat.
you can get a handle, maybe if you could get a hold on one of those duct tape like wristbands or necklaces or things that are being done, one of those cable wire bangles, you could, finally feel like you're trending.
Yeah.
You've traveled to the future, but you haven't traveled far enough. You want to go further.
I am jealous of Onyx because she has nice parents.
There's a lot of jealousy going towards Onyx. Oh no!
I don't have any parents. We traveled forward in time. We don't have.
Oh,
parents.
they definitely like the whole community, like your camp.
Oh,
kinda
okay.
went
It's the
scoop
whole camp?
because there are other Visigoths.
Okay, well,
some
Visigoths aren't nice parents.
I mean, your parents might not have been in the camp when that
Yeah.
happened, and you
Maybe.
could absolutely be kind of
but like, so they probably aren't
rooming.
nice parents anyway.
Might be rooming with one of the other Visigoth members, but all the Visigoths here, you're from the same village or
Visigoth
camp or wherever,
community.
and so there are other Visigoths in the mall. At this time, about half the mall has fallen to the Visigoths, and they're in charge. Some of the stores are aligned with Molgoths. Some of the stores are aligned with Visigoths. Some of them have remained neutral and haven't been taken over yet. Some of the clerks are Visigoths, like I mentioned, the one running Theososius juice.
That's why there's fashion weaponry.
And so there's a few you can try and discern based on the names which
Yes.
one align where. But I'll let you know when you arrive in the store where they align on which team they're with, because obviously if you're working with a Visigoth clerk, you'll have some advantages compared to if you're trying to get help from a Molgoth clerk. And so there's the politics of the mall, and the Visigoths are going to take over this mall and then take over the city and then sack the White House. So
Long game.
Step 4, profit.
but exactly where in Roman society it was rising up an army and counteracting and usurping their religion. Here it's, well, we're just going to upend capitalism and run for the Senate. And
Again, the Senate.
the
There's a
Senate.
theme.
What's your second relationship, Ultragon?
Okay, and I want to conquer Los Angeles with Chutavon because they are sneaky.
conquer.
Thank you.
Yes.
Could some of us be siblings, maybe?
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What's really nice about Visigoth society is it got erased by the victors. We don't know anything about them, so we can make up a lot in terms of how family units are formed too in Visigoth. Like
Takes a village.
like you could all just see yourselves as a connected extended family, just by heritage. Even if Ultragotha, your parents were on a raid when your town got scooped up and you are actually alone in LA, you're not, because you've got the other Visigoths and
Right.
you're staying with them, right? Because you all scoot you've all got places to live, you've all got malls, you've all got stores, but you just literally just popped out of the sky because of one of the Molgoth's Ouija boards.
Someone's pointing at me.
Just say we have the witch here.
The mall goth I most resent is Ember for bringing us here.
So it's really interesting. So everyone
take your
feels
horse
like they've met their characters here.
for not bringing my horse.
Yeah. We've met Ultragotha,
Yes.
our conqueror, who is jealous of Onyx's stable family, but will conquer LA with Chutavon by their side. We have Chutavon, the charlatan, who is who's resentful of the poet's fine writing, and I have another. Is it to Onyx? It was the fashion styles of Onyx. So the charlatan, like, you've got to be the best dressed person in this mall, and right now you're the second best dressed person in this mall.
No.
Third, because Ultra's here too.
We've coordinated. We need to.
We called each other.
we
What are you
need-
wearing today?
Yeah, we
the
need-
cape? Of
yeah,
course.
Of course, the cape and the jewelry. We need to take that bitch.
Golvera, our bad dancer, runecaster, who is jealous, or no, is it jealous of the,
Jealous of
jealous
Chutavon
of
because-
Chutavon.
Of what they are sometimes, and resentful of Ember because of what they are sometimes.
Yeah. which ends up being the same what they are.
I get them mixed up sometimes. Okay, it's
that Loki life.
Thank you.
And
Loki life.
and then we've met Onyx. The overprotective parents in the mall are our theater tech, who seems to be the fashion center. You're our the McQueen of this mall, and you have what is it, a secret crush on Golvera?
I
That
do.
was? Yeah. And of course, your parents don't want you walking around with that Ember. If only you were hanging around with some of those.
Those nice girls from Shul.
Exactly. Why are you always in the mall?
Or how about those nice Visigoths?
Why does it always have to be the mall? I mean, like, now which parent works at the mall, or is it both of them?
I think both of them do, but
Okay.
my mom's the one that's usually on the loudspeaker.
Okay.
Your dad's in the back saying, "Tell her we love her."
You don't have to be at the mall all the time. There is an outside world to explore. And then finally, Ember, our witch, a terrible poet who admires Golvera and also is seen, stop hanging around with that Onyx kid, which sounds backwards. Like, it sounds like you're the kid everyone would want to, but for whatever reason, is your parents don't want you with the theater tech, because they're always in the hardware store. They're always hanging out in the mall. They're always building. Like, why can't you just join up with a volleyball team and be a normal kid?
Are we sure she's not one of those hackers?
I saw this story on the news. They're just going to steal your identity.
Saw a movie called The Net. Sandra Bullock was
Rachel,
in it.
what is the password to the lock again? What is the safe password again?
Try admin?
So this actually works out well. Next week when we return for our first story episode, the Visigoths outnumber the Goths because one of your own is missing, as it turns out in this adventure. You are going to receive an email, and it will be along the lines of, "Dearest Goths, we have captured teen boy Raven Goldberg and are holding him hostage somewhere in this mall. We won't let him go unless you agree to stop hanging out on the bottom floor of the mall. If you don't agree to the deal before the Halloween dance tonight, Raven Goldberg shall be inducted into Visigoth society. He shall look most attractive in armor. Sincerely yours, the Visigoths."
Oh no.
So that's the setup for next week when we get set up. And you have until 8 p.m. when the dance. Now, it was written originally as the Valentine's Day dance. We're going to do Halloween because it's fucking Halloween. That's way more gothy. So the mall is having a Halloween event party tonight at 8 p.m. And Raven will be inducted into Visigoth society when that happens, if you can rescue him first. So the hunt begins next week on our first story episode of Visigoths versus Goths. I have been your mall rat, who's the GM in this game. The mall rat is a character in the mall. He's a senior who's already got his first Cinnabon and he's going back for fourths. And he knows all the secrets of the mall and can answer them for you. You can go find him down by the fountains if you want to ask the GM questions. You actually interact with the mall rat. The mall rat is a character. And so that is me. I'm over there. I'm just hanging out there, which is kind of fun because Mall Rats 2 just got announced. So I'm there in the mall. I'm a legend. I know the ins and outs. I know the secret passageways. I know what this mall was like before all those new stores opened up, and I can tell you the secrets if you can help me out too. For our Visigoths, I have been joined by
Joan.
And Velvet.
Nicole.
and our Malgoths.
Joe.
And Sean.
We'll be back next week with our first episode right here in Turbo Wars. This game is in Kickstarter right now. Go check the link. Go there, support it. Tell Lucian he's awesome. Follow him. Oh, the Agony. All the links to everyone at this table and to this game, they're all there. I can't mention them all, but they're there because it's awesome. So click them, follow them. Don't worry about me. Like, honestly, we'll see you next time. Until then, be good to each other. Bye.
Bye.
The Terrible Warriors will be back this week with a second episode in our Visigoths versus Malgoths story. The game is currently in Kickstarter. Visit the link in the episode details. Follow Lucian on Twitter at OhTheAgony. Let them know we sent you. As well, special thanks to Joan, Nicole, Velvet, Joe, and Sean for joining us at the table. You can find out how you can support them as well in the episode details. They're down there. Visigoths vs. Small Goths is in Kickstarter until October 31st. It is already funded, so you are now getting involved in helping push those stretch goals and making sure this game is as big as it deserves to be. When we return in our next episode, we play the story. We enter the mall. The Mall Goths receive an email from the Visigoths, and they have until 8 p.m. before the skate to stop their nefarious plans from coming to fruition. Will they succeed? We'll find out on the next episode, right here on the Terrible Warriors.